Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Quick story. My 4-year-old, she's going to be 5 on Tuesday. Fill up her little water bottle, before she goes to school, right? She has her lunch, her backpack, whatever. So I put some beers in the freezer over the weekend, and one of them exploded and kind of got in the ice. And so I'm walking my daughter home from school, and she drinks her water. She's like, "Oh, this is daddy water." Hands it to me. Like, what do you mean? It's daddy beer. So I take a sip, and you can kind of taste a little bit of beer because it fell into the ice, and I used some of the ice to put it in there, and it was just enough where you can taste a hint of it. So yeah, I sent the daughter to school with some IPA.
It's a rough day, dude. These rough days sometimes, you need a little bit of beer to kind of level you out.
Well, after losing to the Broncos, she requested something to kind of even her out. You know what I mean? Nothing like a depressant to chase the blues away. Little Prince is going to be a Raider fan. She's got to learn.
It's better than sitting here with like Oxycontin or something.
Well, that's we'll save that for the off season when she's going to need that. Yeah, gotta save something for draft day. You know what I mean?
You gotta have something in the back pocket.
Yeah. Can just go all out right out of the gate. You know what I mean? She's not even 5 yet. Come on, let's save the needle drugs for at least kindergarten,
middle school at least. Jeez,
right? I don't want my kids getting taken away from me. I'm a responsible parent. So the big news this week broke today. Gardner Minshew out as QB1. Aiden O'Connell back reinstated as QB1. Another midseason switch to Farva. And I think we all know the exact reason why. Minshew's a booger eater. Can't be QB1 in the NFL. When you're caught on the sidelines, catching bats in the cave, and then trapping them.
You need a little extra boost.
He was hungry for a win. Instead,
that's where he hit his gummy bears.
And he tried to do the secret thumb on the outside, hit the real quick boop, boop, boop. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't knuckle deep in there. I'm a big pinky guy because I want to rotate, but that is the proper technique when you're going outside nostril. You use the thumb.
Yeah, the pinky's the way to go.
Yeah,
and then when you want it, but if you want to really do the picking and flicking, you got to really get in there,
and you roll it.
You roll it and then you flick it.
Roll, flick. Yeah, because if you just go
flicking,
if it just spackles on a finger, you're doing this. You're doing this thing, And half the time you try to go down, but it ends up going up and get somewhere. You got to roll it to de-adhesify it and bring down the structural integrity, and then you can projectile that.
Now that we've lost every single listener,
at least he's got good technique somewhere. Even if his quarterbacking wasn't all that great.
He's an outdoorsy guy.
Yeah. That's a guy that lives in his van. You know what I mean? He doesn't have a place to put his booger.
He needs to entertain himself somehow.
Mm-hmm. So he will be benched. He went 99 of 140 this season, 70% completion percentage, highest actually of his career. Over 1,000 yards, but it's the 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions that I think are the big kicker. And not even just the touchdown to interception ratio, which is bad enough. It was just how bad those interceptions are. There's interceptions where, I'm throwing a 50-50 ball to Devontae Adams. It's up to him to catch it. Surtain makes a great play. Those are kind of forgivable. Yeah, not forgivable, but you're okay, you tried to make a play.
Understandable.
You put the ball in the position for your playmaker to do something and didn't pan out. Not okay, but okay. I get it. You know what I mean? You're taught, hey, throw that ball, let Jesus take the wheel. These were some bad ones. And of course, obviously the worst one was a wide open flat to Brock Bowers. He overthrew a 6'4" tight end, went 100 yards. This was the time. Can we agree? This was the time.
Oh yeah, I said it in the postgame show. I said it. Yeah. So here's the thing when you do something like this early in the season, and don't get it wrong, it is still very early in the season.
Mm.
You can't get 2 boosts in the same. You can't get a boost from a guy that you benched because he wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So you can't get a boost from Aiden O'Connell, and then if he doesn't do it, you can get a boost back from putting in Mitch. It's not going to work. So this better work.
You have one ripcord to pull, right? You pull it once. You don't have 17 different parachutes
you can shoot. You know, that's it. You got one and done. So I'm not saying it's the wrong move. I think it's the right move to do because of the massive ups and downs. We knew that it was going to be a little bit more volatile having Gardner Minshew in there. When you look at the numbers, I don't know that Aiden O'Connell is going to pass for 70%, you know, and have as many yards through 5 games, but he's not going to have the massive turnovers. And when you're missing a lot of the defensive players that we're missing now, the turnovers is going to be paramount. You can't turn the ball over. Every game is going to be treated like a road game. You know, you can't turn the ball over. You got to, you know, or win the turnover battle. The turnovers are going to happen, but win the turnover battle, penalties, and you got to have solid tackling. And, you know, we're going to ask Aiden O'Connell to hopefully stretch a little bit further than what he's shown us he can do. And that's push the ball down the field a little bit more, try to be a little bit more dynamic in the passing game. And we'll see. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, it's hard to win the turnover battle too when your defense has 2 takeaways all season. 2.
That's
like
tough.
Fumbles, like you should have more than 2 just fumbles fall in your lap after 5 games, especially with how long the defense has been on the field, right? Offense isn't playing great. You know, when I went on Cofield's show on Monday, I was like hyping up Spillane. Leads the league in tackles. He's never had less than 10 tackles a game, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, yeah, they're on the field for 60 plays a game. Like, of course your middle linebacker is going to get 1 million tackles. You're like, kind of true. Still, he's playing lights out, but I get your point, right? Like when you're playing that much and you're a strong side linebacker, you're going to get a ton of tackles. Yeah, this was the time, like you mentioned, break glass in case of emergency. You don't get to put the glass back up, but before things get really out of hand, this is when you got to make that move, right? We were talking about Antonio Pierce, and you know, you're a motivator, you're steering the ship. That's your main strength. That's the whole reason why you're here. And I think this is his way of like, before this thing starts spiraling, we already have 2 really bad we have 3 losses, 2 really embarrassing losses already this season. It's only week 5. You can't let the wheels come off this early. It's like break glass now. And if the season's going to be lost down the line, you can say you tried everything. Pulled a new quarterback, gave my speech, sat guys. You know, when in the NFL do you sit a guy for a quarter like they did with Jack Jones? Like, that's like high school shit. But he's like, hey, this is what we're doing. Like, we're sending messages. We're doing what it takes. And so, okay, like, it's not working, but you're trying, right? It's like Luke Getsy. It's like, okay, it's not working, but I appreciate the creativity and you're trying to expand a little bit. This was the time, and I stand by exactly what I said when we signed Minshew. I stand by exactly what I said at the end of training camp. Same thing that I said at the beginning of preseason, and the same thing I said at the end of preseason. I don't think there's a giant difference between Minshew and Farva. I don't think one of them is going to drastically affect our win-loss record. I don't think. Could be wrong. I don't think so. But Farva has 2 things going for him. One, you and I think a lot of Raider Nation, to a varying degree, want Farva on the team forever. You and I was like, I want to be our backup for a good long time. I think he's a high quality backup quarterback, great in the locker room. People respect him, works hard, never an issue. I want him to be our backup quarterback for the foreseeable future. And so he should get some reps, right? Like, if I don't think anyone plans on Minshew being our long-term anything. So if someone's going to get reps, I'd rather it be Farva. And 2, we can disagree on what we think Farva's ceiling is, but we can 100% agree that there's more of a question mark on Farva's ceiling than Minshew. Like, we know who Minshew is. If there's any question at all, it's like, okay, maybe you're a little bit more confident in what you think Aiden O'Connell is, but we can all agree we for sure know what Minshew's about. At least with Farva, there's some intrigue. Let's let him get the reps. Let's let him practice. And so that was my tiebreaker the whole time. Not that I think Farva's way better. It's just those 2 tiebreakers. That's why I've said, let's do Farva. If you start Minshew, I'm not going to yell about it, bash my head against the wall. It's just 2 tiebreakers. And so we get to see if those tiebreakers play out.
It's going to be interesting to see what their difference is, how they play out on the field. Minshew is a lot more mobile. He picked up a couple of first downs on that opening drive.
Some long ones. Look at
some long first downs,
scramble.
Like third and longs, where he picked it up with his legs. Aiden O'Connell's not going to do that. He's just not. That's just not who he is. He had a nice pass on a rollout, but he also threw the ball 10 yards short of Trey Tucker on a rollout.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff's going to happen with him because he's just not that quarterback. The offense that Luke Getsy has at times does move the pocket. Is that going to change how he executes the offense? Hopefully it gives him more of a reason to get the ball in different spots by moving his players around pre-snap. So that's a positive. I think that when you have a player like an Aiden O'Connell who knows where to get the ball, is good with his pre-snap reads, knows where to get it, knows where to put the ball, you can do a little bit more of that window dressing to kind of fool the defense because he knows where to go with the ball.
Yeah.
So you're not going to confuse yourself by moving these guys around. But this is not a good matchup to go against. TJ Watt is one of the best players in the NFL, and he's gonna go hunting. He's gonna go hunting. He has a stationary target to hunt. So we have to have a good game plan for him, and we have to be able to give Aiden O'Connell every chance to succeed by allowing him to do what he does best and cover as much as we can what his deficits are.
Yeah, I wonder exactly. I am curious too how much Luke Getsy is going to change the scheme because I feel like there's been some outs for Aiden in the current scheme with Minshew, but it's not Minshew's way. Like there's been, we talk about pressure, right? Oh, you want the more mobile quarterback. It's like, well, going back when there's been pressure on Minshew, or even when there hasn't been pressure on Minshew and he bails, there's outs. Like there's guys open. There's like, dump it off to the running back or a guy running a short route. Like there's, hey, there's a giant blitz. This is your read. Get it out of there. I've seen a lot of those guys open. Minshew just doesn't throw it or doesn't see it or chooses to run instead. That's Aiden O'Connell's exit, right? When he can't make up with his feet, he needs to make up with a quick read, get the ball out, take the 3 yards instead of the 5-yard sack. So there's that element to it. I am very curious about how they do the play action moving forward. Is he going to be a very mobile rollout play action guy? Is it just kind of hand off, turn your back, kind of just like a normal, almost 5-step drop? I'm curious about that part as well. Do they push the ball further down the field with O'Connell as opposed to Minshew? Is it still just, hey, he's still a 1.5-year player? Let's keep the playbook very, because even with Minshew throwing 1,000 yards, having great completion percentage, because it wasn't asking a lot of them, really. It just kind of,
I don't think it's going to change that much in that respect, but there's a couple things that are in our favor when it comes to play action. Aiden O'Connell is very comfortable because of the offense that he was in with Purdue. He's very comfortable, and he's really good at turning his back to the defense and being able to know where his read is right away. So he can do that, and he showed that he can do that last season with the play action that we used. And he has Brock Bowers who can get open quickly. So if he does have to turn his back to the defense, he knows that he needs to identify where Brock Bowers is at all times and where he's going to be. And that's got to be his outlet right away if he feels pressure.
And this is a very different offense from last year, even though, we all have seen the stats, right? He went 8-0, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions to close out the season, 4 games. Again, wasn't asked to do a lot, but he kept his stats pretty clean because he played within what he was told to do and did basically what he was asked, more or less. This is so different. No Devontae Adams. The pass blocking is not as good as it was last season. No run game to speak of to lean on, unlike last season when Zeus was playing pretty damn good to close out the season. So if he plays as well as he did last season, that's a giant win because he has nowhere near the weapons, the protection, the run game, the defense. You know what I mean? Like he's up against it this season. So if we look at his stats last season and how it closed out, you're like, oh, if he can do that, you should improve on that. I think if he does even remotely what he did last season to close out in the last 4 games, that should be a win. That should be like, okay, Favre got a little better, and he's kind of hanging with this offense.
Yeah, I don't know that that Minshew was asked to throw deep a lot. I think it was just a couple of throws per game where we took our shots. I think even some of those, like that overthrow of DJ Turner that Minshew had right after the pick six, which could have, I mean, turned the momentum right back in our favor. Mm-hmm. Even that wasn't super deep. It was maybe 25 yards. So it wasn't like a bomb down the field, 45, 50-yard bomb.
Yeah.
So there are those throws that are cooked into this offense that Aiden O'Connell is more than capable of making. Mm. And I'm not concerned, but I'm aware of this, and it's something I'm going to take a look at, is how easily is he thrown off from his timing. Minshew looked like he was scatterbrained, but he completed 70% of his passes. That's just how he plays. He's a gunslinger type guy. It doesn't look pretty, but he's always looking downfield, and he's always looking to get rid of the ball. Aiden O'Connell needs to play on time. And the issue that I think you and I both have with Aiden O'Connell and our concern is that he's not very mobile, and when he's thrown off of his timing, he's not very accurate. So we need to be able to protect him. We need to be able to keep him playing on time. Think of him as a younger Andy Dalton. Mm-hmm. We did nothing at all to disrupt his timing in that game against the Panthers, and he was able to sit back, and he was able to just click, just right down the field. And that's what Aiden O'Connell can do. He's capable of doing it. It's just he needs to be given that time. So if we can do that, if we can find a way to do that, or keep the pressure, I'm not so much worried about the sacks because TJ Watt is a freaking stud and he's going to get his sacks. I want to keep the pressures low because I think for Aiden O'Connell, the pressures are worse than the sacks. Because if you continually pressuring him and get him off his timing, that's what's going to cause him to make mistakes. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I think we're going to win this game, but it's going to take a lot of our offensive line.
Well, and it's also, it's a lot more than one game too, right? Like we'll get to the Steelers breakdown at the end of the show, but potentially, Antonio Pierce was asked like, well, is it going to be another change moving forward? It's like, I never plan on changing quarterback, but that's a no. It's like,
that's a great answer. It's like, dude, I didn't plan on changing it the first time.
It's a great answer, but it also wasn't like, we switched, he's our guy. It's, if he fucks up, we'll switch again. And then we'll switch again. It'd be like Michael Scott in the dinner party. Like, snip, snap, snip, snap. I got It's like, all right, we'll play ping pong with our quarterbacks if that's what they make us do. I hope this does a lot for his confidence because they've talked about how he's got a little more attitude this season. Got that second year, he's a little bit more vocal.
Yeah.
A little bit more kind of like in your face. He'll talk some trash, and now he's back on the throne, right? So here's hoping that this is not just get us through this next week, not just like, hey, get us through until Gardner Minshew gets his shit together type thing. Hopefully this is a forever improvement for him if he does, in fact, become our long-term, hopefully QB2 moving forward. Well, he will not be throwing the ball to Davante Adams. We are still on Davante watch of that trade we all think is coming. We've been told it's coming. Raiders are waiting for that second-round pick. Diana Ruzzini on Monday said there's a 48-hour window from The Athletic. She said, since last week, I've had plenty of conversations about where Adams might be traded, but the more pressing question right now, when will he land? As far as the Raiders and the receiver are concerned, they want him to have a new home sometime in the next 48 hours. Vegas is still in search of a second-round pick and compensation, blah, blah, blah. New York and the Saints remain the favorites, while the Steelers still firmly in the hunt. The Chiefs and Bills aren't necessarily out of it, but potentially. So it's been over 48 hours, right? This was Monday. We're recording this Wednesday evening. By the time you guys listen to this, it'll be pushing 60 hours since this report came out, and they wanted to do it within 48. Not happening. Ruzzini's pretty on the ball. I think Diana Ruzzini's, I believe her report when she says that's when the Raiders and Davante wanted this to happen. But there's been a lot of changes since then. Robert Saleh got fired from the Jets, right? So like the whole head coach is gone. I don't know if making a major change for a all-pro wide receiver is something that's going to just like, there's something to slow that down. Derek Carr got hurt with the Saints. There's that issue. And we're playing the Steelers on Sunday. Do they want to trade Davante Adams 3 days before you play this team? So, and then you still have Davante Adams' hamstring injury, depending on how much you think it's truly an injury, faking it, somewhere in a gray area. Are they waiting for that to heal up? Whatever. So long story short, something we wanted to just get over with, Soto. Like, all right, get as much as we can, get him out of here. Let's move on. Let's just ask anybody that's been through a divorce. It's not the happy part's the happy part. The divorce at the end is the happy part. It's the in between. Are we together? Are we not together? We're living together. She's got half her shit moved out, but half of her shit's still here. I'm still getting her back. That's the worst part of a relationship, is in that middle gray area, which is where we're stuck with Davante.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate that those two things happened. It really derailed any momentum that was had. The third team, whether you want to believe it's the Steelers or you want to believe it's the Ravens,
Bills,
the Bills. I think there's been strong reports that the three big ones are the Ravens, the Jets, and the Saints. Well, the Jets and the Saints are on like a holding pattern right now, and you don't want to negotiate with just one team. So it's smart of them to like let the dust settle and get those two teams back into the conversation in a week or two, because we have time. We have a month until we can trade them. We have a month, so there's no hurry. I would hate, as Mark Davis and the team, I would hate to be giving this guy basically $1 million a freaking week, $970,000 a week, just sit around and like, oh my side, my hammy, all this other stuff. But it makes sense to be patient, because you don't want to get, as much as you want him off your team, if he doesn't want to be there, you don't want to just give him away. Mm-hmm. He's an asset still. And there's going to be a time and place where he's going to have what's that game show? It's the one with the briefcases. What is it called?
Oh, with the smoking hot chicks on NBC.
Yes, those freaking. Let's make a deal, or
no. Deal or no deal? Deal or no deal. We had a term in our 20s, like, oh, that chick's like a deal or no deal girl, where they're like hot, 8% slutty, but mostly classy. Like we had there's an actual classification of the deal or no deal girl. She's like, okay, showing a little cleavage. There's a boob job there, but you're not seeing like a chest tattoo. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, she's classy, but you can tell she danced on some bars in college.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. Like we have to kind of balance it to where, okay, the timing is right. This is going to be the best deal we're going to get for a disgruntled player who doesn't want to be here. Mm. So now the timing isn't right now. Now, had these two things not happened, had Saleh not let people know that he was going to demote Nathaniel Hackett, and Karen Rodgers not got upset, and that's what happened. Mm-hmm. But and had Carr just not gotten hurt.
Aaron Rodgers told McAfee he had nothing to do with the firing.
Oh yeah, and Davante told Kay Adams that he hadn't talked to Antonio Pierce, and Antonio Pierce was like, "Yeah, I talked to him on Monday morning. He told me to my face that he wanted to be traded." Mm-hmm. Something tells me that Davante Adams doesn't even have a Taco Bell in his house.
At least you don't have to pretend to like Taco Bell anymore. Now that once Davante's gone,
dude, Del Taco is so much better. Mm-hmm. Fight me on. I don't care. Fight me.
Del Scorcho. Oh, you can put that on dog shit, and it makes
everything.
It
tastes good. Fries.
You can literally put anything in a tortilla with Del Scorcho, and it's edible at any time.
It's delicious.
You're
thinking about Del Taco, aren't you?
Remember the Chilito? They discontinued it. It was like 89 cents, and it was just chili cheese wrapped in a tortilla. And it was like 89 cents.
Yeah, chili, like ground beef, chili, and cheese. That's it.
Like you'd be like, you'd be in 16 in high school, and you'd be like, oh, I got like $2 left. Like, oh, you get 2 Chilitos with taxes, you're still set. Like, yes,
and a water, and you sneak the Sprite because it's the same color.
So worth the diarrhea. Or you were 16, you didn't even get diarrhea back then. Just iron guts.
You can eat a boot, be fine.
I still think the Commanders are the best fit. It doesn't sound like that's happening, but just like looking at fit, I feel like the Commanders would be absolutely perfect for him. But I also just don't think. I think even before the shit hit the fan, right? Before Saleh, before Carr's injury, last week before the Steelers was the next game, it just feels like the market for him wasn't there yet. There wasn't any teams banging down the door. We got to move. Let's go right now. Let's go get him. He's going to change the season for us. Nobody appeared like that. And so the Raiders were kind of forced into a wait and see, right? Like you want a blitzkrieg. You want someone to just show up and bid high before someone else makes a move. That didn't happen. So now the Raiders were kind of forced to just like, the last thing you want to do is just drag this out. But I'd rather drag it out and get a second than just take the first guy available and get a fourth. The other part is every other report is the Raiders are saying they're not going to pay any of his salary. Because that could be, I'm not a capologist, but there are scenarios where if the Raiders paid part of his, $15 million salary because we got the cap space, hopefully we can turn that into more compensation, right? Instead of a second and a fourth, they get a second and a second or whatever the fuck, right? It's like, hey, here's $15 million. Give us some more picks or give us a compensatory pick or whatever. The Raiders don't want to do that, which is weird considering how much cap space we're sitting on. I got to imagine, like, if this was the Oakland Raiders 6 years ago, I could say, oh, Mark Davis is just broke. He just doesn't have a $15 million check he can write somebody. That's not the case anymore. They must have plans for all that money then. They must be like, hey, we got all these, we got extensions we got to do. We're trying to sit on $50 million next season to sign a free agent quarterback. Like, I am very shocked that with this much cap space and how many holes we have on the team, how much depth we desperately need, we're not hoarding draft picks and literally paying for. I would rather give money away and take draft picks than vice versa.
So there's a lot of different moving parts here. I think it's working in our favor at this point. We're pretty much. I mean, Davante Adams is hurt, I guess. Mm-hmm. So depending on what you believe with the injury, okay. So there's no rush right now to get him, and there's still time to trade him. They still have a month to trade him. Once we get closer to that deadline, we're going to waver from that because right now we're telling people what we want. I want a second plus, and I'm not going to pay his salary because we're still a month away, right? Guns aren't to our head yet. He's going to be gone, I believe, despite what AP said about what we're going to talk about in a little bit. But it's not the right time negotiation wise. It's not the right time to start making concessions because time is still on our side. So there's other teams out there. Like I think like you said, the Bills are a very strong possibility because they have 2 seconds. They got the second that they got for Stephon Diggs. Like, okay, you know that Josh Allen's going to be there for a while, right? He's the franchise guy. He's a young kid. Likes to get the ball out there, likes to get the ball deep. Okay. He's a guy that you can work with, right?
Super Bowl contenders this season.
Super Bowl contenders.
Very, very
One of
so.
the issues that you're going to see with the Jets is the same reason that Davante Adams wanted out in Green Bay is the same reason that he may not want to go to the Jets or may not be super pumped to sign a long-term deal with the Jets because he doesn't know how long Aaron Rodgers is going to be there. And, they're probably going to have that conversation before the trade's even done. Like, hey, man, if I agree to an extension here, you got to play at least 2 more years, like at least another year past this one.
I disagree. Only for this reason, because Davante Adams has no guaranteed money left on his contract after, where no one's going to pay him. Was it $44 million next season?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he's going to redo his deal once he gets traded because he doesn't want to get traded and not have guaranteed money. Like he wants to, wherever he goes, he's going to want guaranteed money.
Well, that's what. Well, no, I think opposite, and this is why. If he goes to like a 1 year, that's why I think the Jets make so much sense, is because they're pushing all their chips in this season. I think Rodgers retires. They've been kicking the can down.
They're not going to get anything for if he's not tied up. The team that's trading for him is going to want to tie him up.
But this changes things when Saleh got fired, because it's like, look, if you don't make the playoffs and go far this season, everyone's fired. So Saleh and the GM and everyone's just kind of like, okay, let's just do it because we're not going to be here regardless. Saleh getting fired changes that equation. But if I think he'd rather be a free agent after this season, because then he's not having to worry about trade compensation changing his salary. He's straight up free agent because wherever he goes aren't going to pay him $44 million. It might behoove him to just play this season out on this deal, and then he can pick any 32 teams he wants to. He's a unrestricted free agent.
Why are you going to give up as a team, give up any type of compensation of value? That's the kicker. Real value, and not have it guaranteed.
Yeah, that's the kicker with Saleh fired. Now is there another team as desperate to just like win right this second, or they're fired? So they'll, you know what I mean? There's not.
Well, look, if you
like that now,
if you're trying to get a good coach to come in there and you say, well, we have Aaron Rodgers and we have Davante Adams. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty nice little setup.
Garrett Wilson, badass defense.
For a year or two, good defense. Got some young players on offense as well. You know, you got Breece Hall, you got Wilson, you got some guys. So that's my whole thing is I'm thinking from all angles here. The team that trades for Davante is not going to want to have him become a free agent next season. They're going to want to break him down. They didn't sign him to this current deal with no guaranteed money the next 2 years. The inflated contract at the end of the contract. They didn't sign him for that. They're going to want to put him on their type of deal for their cap and their issues and their needs. They're going to want to do that for them. And if Davante doesn't want to sign that, they're not going to give anything but value back.
Yeah, this whole Robert Saleh thing fucked our shit up. Damn it.
Yeah, that was a real shit kicker. And then you get fucking Carr getting hurt. Never gets freaking hurt. Now he decides to get hurt now, dumbass. And like that,
at least he stayed healthy for us. Now he can't get through the season as a non-Raider.
Dude, when I wanted him to get hurt and not be able to play, he freaking played every goddamn snap. And then now I want him to be healthy and he gets hurt.
Well, maybe he'll be hurt when we play him week 17.
I'm not so worried about that. But my main issue is we need to get a fourth team in the running. And I think the Bills might be that team, because you've seen the last 2 weeks where the Bills played the last 2 weeks. I mean, goddamn, fucking Josh Allen, he had to do everything. Nobody could get open. Nobody could get separation. They need somebody who's able to get open, create separation quickly, on time, and also be able to run a scramble drill, because Josh Allen likes to scramble around. So if the Bills weren't that third team already, it'd be great if they are that fourth team to come in. So at this moment now, you have more than one team bidding for his services. And
what's Joe Brady's coaching tree, the offensive coordinator for the Bills? Like, what is he doesn't have anything that aligns with what
nothing of like
nothing close.
Nothing
it'd close be a whole okay. So it'd be a real fast learning curve then.
Yeah, their offense is completely different from what they ran in Green Bay and what he's used to. Okay. It's completely different. It's a lot more verticals. It's not like a West Coast hybrid type. It's a lot more deep shots and comebacks. It plays to the strength of Josh Allen, where it gives him a lot of space to work, but it's also pushing the ball down the field. And it's different. I mean, I'm sure that they would adjust,
for he's Davante. He can play anything. It's just like I would like there to be more ammo, right? Like, we plug him right in. Joe Brady's been drooling over him. Like that would be great.
I'm sure they will. It's just you're gonna take some time to figure out who's gonna be there. I mean, Joe Brady's really young, dude. He's like 35 years old. He's a young dude, and it's gonna be difficult to get everything you want right now, because If it's not the Bills, because the Bills are the ones they've lost 2 games in a row, I believe, and they looked terrible offensively in both games, with one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the NFL. So you need to get him some weapons. It's all well and good. No great quarterback out there has no weapons. Even Patrick Mahomes, they got rid of all their receivers. Even, he looked better when they got Juju back, who knows the system. When he always had Kelsey. So even they had a guy.
And they drafted a first-round speedster, there's still stuff there.
He has nothing. There's Kincaid, and that's it. There's nothing else there. So if they get Davante, they are like boosted up, and their offense is going to take off. So that's a good one to watch. I would hate to trade him into the conference, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. It only matters if you go to the playoffs. So for right now, it's just get the best deal you can out of division and go from there.
Antonio Pierce on his regular Wednesday press conference was asked about Davante. Here's his answer.
He's still a Raider. He's never not been a Raider.
Yeah, actually playing again for the Raiders.
He's still a Raider. When he's healthy and he can play, we'll play him. He's just not healthy right now. And he's getting closer, though. That's the good part. He's working every day to get that hamstrings right. He's in the right headspace mentally. Like I said, we talked recently and had a good conversation, and he's ready to play football.
Has he been rehabbing here at the facility, Antonio?
Yes.
Have you seen him here? Yeah.
So here's the thing. If this drags out for the next several weeks, right? The trade deadline's what? November 5th or something, right? We got like another month. Davante wants to look healthy. Like, he doesn't want to look like he's at 33, 32, early 30s on his, slowly starting to get older wide receiver, where hamstring injury is it's a rough one for wide receiver. Like, a lot of guys don't just bounce back from that, no problem. He needs to look healthy to raise the market for him. And the only way to do that is to play football on the team you're currently on. So when this all went down, I'm like, okay, Davante's played his last snap as a Raider, done deal. Now that this drags on, he might have to play again.
Yeah.
He might. He's probably not going to suit up this Sunday. He might have to, if this drags on, he'll probably suit up next Sunday.
Yeah, if he doesn't,
going to be awkward.
If he doesn't get traded Monday or Tuesday, because he's not going to get traded on a Wednesday. Wednesday's install day, right? Wednesdays you practice, you install your all your offense and then all your keys, and you install everything on Wednesday. So you're not going to trade for a guy that's not in your install, right? Because it's going to change with Davante Adams there. So it's going to be either Monday or Tuesday next week. If he doesn't get traded Monday or Tuesday, he's going to have to play. And again, like you said, it's the Saleh getting fired and Carr being hurt really just threw a big old freaking shitburger on the plate. And it sucks because I think there was some real momentum happening to something actually getting done and having some finality to it. But we got to roll with the punches, man. I mean, look, we got all these people out. We got young guys coming in and playing some significant snaps. We got guys that are career backups playing some significant snaps. All right. We just got to don't flinch, move forward.
So Mark Davis is the type of, like, if you don't want to be here, we don't want you here type guy, right? So it's like when guys are disgruntled, it's like, okay, fine, we'll trade you, right? There's obviously pluses and minuses to that. You look at like the 49ers, they have a disgruntled player every other season and they never move on. Like they work it out. They figure it out, right?
I think Davante's a little bit different because Davante's been talking to him for years now that he wanted to be moved.
Well, I'm also just kind of saying in general, right? Just as a principle, as a standard operating procedure, as a franchise, if you don't want to be here, we let you go as a general rule, right? I was part of me wants to fight this just to see how Telesco handles it. Just to see if he can, does he have the skill as a GM, as a negotiator, as a people person to find a solution to keep Davante? Keep him happy, keep the locker room happy, keep the cap, whatever has to be done. Obviously, AP would be a big part of that as well. Part of me wants them to work it out or attempt to work it out to see if they either A, work it out or it implodes and it was a mistake. Like I'm still learning about intimately Telesco. Again, we all saw what Telesco's done. We can look at who he's drafted, how much he's paid. But intimately as Raider fans, when he's our GM, a little curious to see if AP and Telesco would either make it work or make it worse.
Well, I mean, despite what some people say, they're not impulsive at all because he's still on the team and they're waiting to get the offer that they
Telesco definitely is not. Yeah.
They're not impulsive. They know what they're doing. They're biding their time. They're doing the right thing right now. And this isn't like, AP liked the tweet and then Devontae wanted to be. That's not what happened. Devontae went in there on Monday, first thing Monday morning, and he wanted to be traded.
The chicken came before the egg. It was still fucking stupid. It's still like exacerbated something it didn't have to.
And but I bring it up only to bring up the fact that this is something that Devontae has been talking about. That the front office, that the team. I don't know that he's the first time he brings up wanting to be traded, they're gonna be like, okay, we'll trade you. No, this has been going on for years now. He was told, 2 years ago, hey, we can't trade you because your cap hit's going to be enormous and we're not going to do that. So you're not going anywhere. You got to make it work here. Okay.
So that's why Devontae acted like he wanted to be here.
Because he knew he wasn't going anywhere. He knew he wasn't going anywhere. Yeah, he knew for a fact he wasn't going anywhere. Okay, hey, AP, you got the guy that you pushed for is still here. Give him a shot. Blah blah blah. We got these guys. This and that. Da da da. Didn't work. Okay, now I gave you guys the one, like the first chance that he really realistically has to be traded. He wants out. Okay, this is not something that's new. So they're not being impulsive. A lot of people are saying, I read that a lot, and people are like, oh, just let him go and this and that. Like, yeah, we want to. That's like when people say, yeah, we should have traded everything for Jaden Daniels. Like, well, dude, it takes two, and now it takes two as well. So we're not going to sit there and trade him with a month left until the trade deadline and get some kibbles and bits for him. It's just not going to work out that way. It'll then be Telesco sucks at his job and this and that. Like, no, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing right now in establishing a value and waiting it out and see what happens. Like you go to the car lot and they give you a price and they give you a deal and you're like, you know what? You have to be prepared to walk away and let them chase you down the next day or next 2 days. Same thing here. You got to be prepared to walk away because you have something set that you want.
So with this news of our second best player, Davante Adams, wanting out, our best player, Max, missing a game and a half, some other big name, happening. I went through our biggest cap hits this season to see how everyone's doing. We'll make this a short segment because it's pretty depressing. Biggest cap hits in 2024. Max Crosby, $30 million cap hit. He missed a game and a half. He's never missed a game in his career. He missed a game and a half. Not the end of the world, and he came back strong, but missed a game and a half. Davante Adams, $25 million cap hit, demanding a trade. Third biggest hit, Colton Miller, $16 million. He's allowed 6 sacks this season, according to PFF. That's the most in the NFL.
He is so bad right now.
The fourth highest cap hit, Christian Wilkins, $10 million. That's not even when like the big money hits. It's his first year. So the signing bonus was like the bulk of it. $10 million. So the fourth biggest hit. He just got put on injured reserve after breaking his foot. It looks like that type of injury he'll probably return, but he's on IR, not playing for at least 4 games.
Dude, JT the Brick said that he was the first guy in the freaking office this morning, 6 a.m., getting treatment done.
Yep.
He wants to get back out there. I like this guy, man. I like him a lot.
Great signing, but it's a great signing that's going to be walking around in crutches for a while. Fifth biggest cap hit, Jacoby Myers, $9.4 million. He has 1 touchdown in 5 games.
He's playing well. He's not getting a lot of targets, but he's making out on the targets he's getting. That's a little bit deceiving because he's not getting a lot of targets, but no, he's
not getting the ends. He's not producing as our 5th biggest cap hit for whatever reason, right? With the quarterback, bringing the scheme.
Yeah, I think it's going to change when AOC gets there.
It's money spent that's not currently producing. 6th biggest cap hit, Gardner Minshew, only $8 million. Not bad for starting quarterback, but now he is benched.
Terrible quarterback.
Of the 6 biggest cap hits, We've got a guy who missed a game and a half, a guy demanding a trade, another guy giving up the most sacks in the league, one guy on injured reserve, one guy with 1 touchdown, and one guy benched on our 6 biggest cap hits.
It's rough, man. It's rough. It's like when you there's things that it doesn't matter the bottom line, because the bottom line is wins and losses, right? That's the bottom line. But there's context that goes into that. Like, you're not going to fire a coach if like 4 of his top 5 players are on injured reserve. That's just very difficult to come back for anybody. When you have, your 2 running mates, linemen, that were supposed to change this defense. What did we say? Well, what did I say in the beginning before the season started? Our defense is going to revolve around how this defensive line plays. The defensive lines have set the tone for the entire defense. And now 2 of our 4, or 3, I guess, 2 of our 3 pillars of this defensive line, which was going to basically be the motor to like propel this defense, are gone. One's not coming back. One may not come back. And the other is hobbled. So it's difficult, man. It's really tough. And that's why, like the saying is, don't blink, don't flinch. That's what they've been saying. Don't blink, don't flinch. Just go out there and play. And if we can, I understand that we need to create turnovers, but we need to tackle better, more than create turnovers. Because I think we're getting a little bit punch happy and trying to go for the big play and punch the ball out instead of securing the ball carrier.
I'll push back on that. I think we're just tackling shitty. I don't see a lot like Max does. That's like his awesome thing.
Every single guy there is freaking throwing punches at the ball, dude.
I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of whiffs. I think there's a lot of bad angles. I think there's a lot of in the trenches tackles that aren't being made. I think there's a lot of not getting off blocks. I mean, maybe there's some of that, but I don't want to give this bad tackling the credit like, well, they're just trying too hard in the wrong direction. It's costing them. I think it's often just bad a lot of things. Can't do this weekend. We got the Steelers heading to Pittsburgh, one of just a small handful of cross-country trips for the Raiders this season. Raiders or Steelers -3 favorites, over under 36.5 again. Probably another very ugly game. Remember, we were talking about the under last week at 36, and that's how much the Broncos scored. Hopefully that's not going to happen again. Are the Steelers our Raiders' biggest rival, not in the AFC West? I think the history's there for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, the history's there. I think 10 years ago would be the Patriots. But the further and further away we get from the Tuck rule, not like the less it hurts, but the more other things.
Well, I mean, the 2 franchises went in like completely opposite directions.
Yeah.
So maybe 5 years after the Tuck rule, it's like, we're not even close to sniffing where they are.
Good rivalry. Raiders lead the series 17-15. I'm kind of surprised that we have the lead right now. I think it's just, you remember those AFC championship games in like the 70s that they just kept winning, but that was just one
Raiders
game,
Steelers every freaking year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go.
Injury report, a lot. Devontae Adams did not participate. Max Crosby did not participate. He'll probably play. Michael Mayer, still no one. I'm surprised there's been no leaks about what's going on with Michael Mayer with his personal situation. Like,
I honestly feel like nobody other than AP knows.
I haven't seen even like on the deepest, darkest like Reddit threads theories that make sense. Nothing. Radio silence everywhere. Like, I've heard some rumors about Max. I've heard some rumors about some other stuff. No one has a fucking clue what's going on with Michael Mayer. It's so weird. At first I thought, oh, maybe something innocent. Dad had a heart attack. I don't know, like some, hey, I got to take care of some. Now it's like it's been dragging on this long. Who knows? Jacoby Myers did not participate. Colton Miller did not participate. Jackson Powers Johnson did not participate. Zamir White did not participate. Trey Taylor, DJ Turner, Richardson, Parham, Mumford, McAllister, and Eichenberg all limited. Now again, Wednesday, I think I would say already 3/4 of these guys play, but Pretty beat up, man. When the font, like for those watching on YouTube, and like you can't even see it because the font's so small because there's so many goddamn guys with so many reports on them.
Yeah, it's yeah, we talked about it already, man. It's not an ideal situation, but the good thing is if you can tread water while your guys get healthy, once they get back, you're going to be in a lot better shape because the guys that are backing up, those guys are going to be game ready to rock. So we got to go out there, man, and we have to match their physicality. This is still a physical football team, and we have to match that. There's some issue going on with Pickens.
Mm-hmm.
If what AP saw from us was business decision, this was like, well, for what business class,
an executive order.
An executive order. Yeah, he was just like, it was super obvious he was not willing to like really do anything.
Chairman of the board taking a vote.
Yeah, it was really bad. So he's disgruntled. There's a lot of stuff going on over there as well. So, I mean, we just got to be physical. We got to match their physicality or be more physical. We have to be ready to get punched in the face, and we got to punch right back. And they're not super explosive offensively, but their physicality can wear you down to where you give up points late if you don't match their physicality early.
The Steelers are a weird team to game plan for because they're not star driven. It's look, there are rivals, but let's call a spade a spade. It's a very well run franchise, very stable franchise. They change coaches every 20 years, right? Mike Tomlin's a very good coach. It's not like, hey, all right, here's the stars on defense, here's the stars on offense, let's lock them up so we can succeed. They're not that. It's not that type of team. In MMA, we call fighters like this fighters that excel in the gray area, right? Like if you're a fighter and you're like, oh, he's got great striking and great wrestling. It's like, okay, here's like the very tangible skill sets he's good at. He's a Muay Thai champion. He's an All-American wrestler. It's like, okay, here's like the skill sets that he has. The fighters that are good in the gray area are the guys that it's not like tangible assets. It's not like, oh, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's really good at scrambles. He knows how to strike in the clinch. He knows how to play off the cage. He knows how to utilize his cardio. He knows how to make in-game mid-round adjustments. Like it's not something you can like tangibly grab. He's just good in those gray areas of mixed martial arts. That's the Steelers. They're not explosive or an incredible running back or a deep threat or like they have stars on defense, but they just find ways to win. And I hate that saying, but it's so true here where it's just like they'll lose every stat, but the points, but points scored. They just kind of will their way to victory. And we've kind of been doing the opposite. We've been kind of willing our way to defeat.
Yeah, I mean, one of the good things about the Steelers sticking with Justin Fields is he plays a similar game to Lamar Jackson, who we've already played. So the game plan outline is very similar. They have a big physical running back, similar to the Ravens. They have one receiver. It's a different receiver. But instead of like the Ravens had more of a kind of a quicker, shiftier, over the middle type of guy. Pickens is like the big guy, 50-50 ball type down the field. So it's a different receiver, but we've defended a team that has similar weapons and plays a similar way. It's just Fields just isn't as good as Lamar Jackson. So if we play him similar, we keep him in the pocket, make him beat us from the pocket, the way we did Lamar Jackson for the most part. I mean, he had a couple of long runs, and it's deceiving. That last run was 25 yards, the last play of the game. But if we can do the same thing to Justin Fields doesn't have quite the arm talent that Lamar Jackson does, and it could bode in our favor. But we have to stay physical up front. We can't let them run the ball all over us, and we have to be physical ourselves. We have to give Aiden O'Connell a shot. We have to be able to run the ball. We have to be able to run play action. If you're not running the ball, play action, they're going to laugh at you. Like, dude, we know you're not fucking running the ball. Your freaking run offense stinks. This play action isn't fooling anybody. That means the linebackers are going to stay put. The defensive linemen are going to, not flinch at the running back, and the DBs are going to stay sticky to their targets. So we have to be able to be physical up front, and it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight, and let's hope Kolton Miller's rounding back into familiar shape. If he does, Glaze had a couple of penalties, the last game, but overall he played really well. So if he continues to progress and Jackson Powers Johnson is able to, be as physical as we know he can be, and he keeps getting warned by the refs, and AP's like, well, I mean, as long as those warnings aren't flags, I mean, I'm good with it, But that's going to be the big tell for us, is if we're going to be able to, trade in the pocket with these guys.
And that's where they excel. They're letting teams only rush 91 yards per game, 3.7 yards per rush. They, if we can get the run game going against this team, it'd be a really good sign, because it's, not the world's best run defense, but pretty damn good. They're holding teams to about 14 points a game, just 2 touchdowns, and that's all they needed. They're averaging about 18 points per game. They started off 3-0, lost the last 2 in a row. So like the tape is out there. I think that's not uncommon when you have a quarterback like Justin Fields, who's not great. And so a good offensive coordinator is like, okay, let's figure out the 6 things you do well and just do those over and over again. And then that gets caught on. Defensive coordinators see a pattern, you make your adjustments, and like, all right, we're out of options. Justin Fields can't do anything else. So this is Patrick Graham's chance to shine, right? He's the one coach on this team where it's like, I believe in him. He can save us here. So you've got Justin Fields, you've got a disgruntled Pickens. I know you got a lot of injuries, PG, but your DBs are healthy. Max is hobbled but playing. This is your chance to shine. You got to make, because you let Bo Nix play great on us. You got to make Justin Fields look like who we think he is, and it's happened 2 games in a row. It's time to do it again.
We've done it already to a player who plays a similar game. We just got to keep it, keep focused on that specific play. Whatever happens previous, just let it go. Don't worry about the next play. Don't worry about the last play. Worry about the play you're on right now. Stay sound. Know your keys. Tackle. We can do that. Stay physical. I think we'll be okay.
Who should be our RB1?
Madison still, yeah.
God, I wish he would have grabbed that by the throat last week. I would have loved for him to just like,
he didn't have anywhere to run, dude. He didn't have anywhere to run. And it's those in between the guards, those inside runs, it's very tough to run against the Broncos, because the Broncos were, even a better defensive line than we're going to face now. They don't have the star power, but their tackles were, they were active, they were strong, and they were, whatever they grabbed you, you weren't going anywhere. So we have to find a way to stretch this defense out horizontally. We have to get them moving sideways, and with our fast players and our playmakers, get them out in space. It's not easy because they're sound defensively. There's nothing spectacular about their defense aside from a couple of guys, but they stay on their marks, and they know their keys. They know what they're looking for, and they tackle. So we have to be able to kind of shift their eyes side to side a little bit. We can't this is not the team to line up and freaking like slug them in the face. We have to be physical at what we do, but it doesn't mean that we got to line up and jumbo package every play and just freaking run right into them. That's just not going to work.
I want to be physical, but just exactly how I want to be physical.
They sound like my freaking high school girlfriend.
Ready to do some what windbags?
Yeah.
Rick L 2633. Antonio Pierce is easily the worst coach in the division. I wanted Harbaugh and JJ McCarthy. This is a poorly coached Raiders team. Well, there's 3 statements here. On paper, yeah. You're going against 3 Hall of Fame coaches in the division, right? So it's like, yeah, okay, yeah. No, we knew going in AP was the rookie. Like, we knew that, right? Like that. I don't think that's any shock there. We knew that going in. It's not like he just, it just fell like that way. This is a poorly coached Raiders team. Like we said, and Patrick Graham is a proven commodity. That side of the ball is very well coached. Getsy, jury's still out. He has yet to prove he's good. We're still waiting to find out. And this is the turning. And like I said on the post show, this is AP's chance to prove why he's here. If he can keep the ship straight, if he can keep this from falling off the rails, then he's proven that like what he was hired to do, he can do. He's not going to be this X's and O's genius. He's not going to be this super experienced in-game guy. That's not what we hired him to be. He's learning on the job in a lot of ways, and there's gonna be some growing. We predicted there's gonna be some growing pains. He's gonna just about every game. You're like, ugh, why'd you do that? Damn it. But if he can control this team, he can keep this team motivated, you can keep that awesome locker room just bound, then he's doing what he was hired to do. And this is that turning point right now. This is the disgruntled Davante Adams, a bunch of guys injured, change a quarterback. This is when teams go off the rails. If he keeps it on the rails, he's doing what he was hired to do.
Yeah, I talked about it in the post-game show. Dan Campbell, there's a few instances where current head coaches were not coordinators, right? Or offense or defensive coordinator. I mean, Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator, but it's John Harbaugh, it's Mike Tomlin, and Dan Campbell. Those are three guys who weren't coordinators before they offensive or defensive coordinators or head coach somewhere else. Dan Campbell started his first year with Detroit 0-10-1, finished 3-13-1. The next season, he started off 1-6, finished 9-8. So, and then he was 13-4 or something like that, or 12 and something like that. Mm-hmm. So there's something to be said for learning on the job and sticking with the guy that is getting good things out of the team, but also identifying context. I'm not saying that AP is safe no matter what, regardless of anything, he's going to be safe. No, but you have to take a look at the fact that, yeah, a lot of your guys are either not there or hobbled. He's not making excuses. He's coaching up his guys. Make no mistake, the way the team came out against Denver, they were prepared and they were ready to play. So I don't want to hear any of this bullshit that AP lost the locker room, the coaches suck. Dude, they were driving for a 17-3 lead. And the team looked sharp. They looked ready to go, and it all unraveled. And that happens with young players and or young coaches. That happens. We got to learn from it and move forward. Those growing pains that you talked about, that's part of it. Now, moving forward, we can't be so impulsive that we're not going to look for the progress because we didn't get exactly what we wanted. And I think Detroit right now is reaping the benefits of that because they did stay patient. So I'm not saying that AP is going to have the same type of success or whatever, but it's not like it wasn't a JMD situation where like your top players are telling you like get rid of this guy. I don't even think Davante is saying right now to get rid of AP. It's like, hey, I just don't want to play here.
Jeff Garrison, George Nelson, 82-84. Minshew is not good, and AOC is not the answer. We legitimately need to tank for a quarterback. The 7-8 win seasons are keeping us from getting a quarterback. I know you've been keyboard worrying against and battling against the tank crew that's been online the last week.
It's awful, dude. Like, you don't win from losing. Here's what's going to happen. There's two ways you can tank. There's the straightforward way, and there's kind of like the roundabout way. The straightforward way to tank is to tell your players, hey, man, we're going to tank. That never happens in NFL. The roundabout way is, hey man, I can't in good conscience, Max, even though you want to play, I can't clear you to play because you're just, that injuries needs to get better. That's the roundabout way, right? What you're saying to your locker room is just like the way people feel about Davante quitting on the team. The organization is quitting on the players by telling them that they're tanking.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to lose. That's the way to lose the locker room. You want to talk about losing the locker room? That's the way to lose a locker room. Okay, you're basically starting over from scratch because you're going to ask these players that you told that you didn't want to win this season. You're asking these guys to put their bodies on the line every play in the NFL, and then you're telling them that you don't want them to win. You're going to lose these players, so you have to go out and get all new players because you already fucked up the ones that you have on your team already because they don't believe in you. So get that out of your heads right now. If one thing is going to piss me off is these freaking crybaby Raider fans after 5 weeks telling us, even though we're 1 game behind, we're right. If we get to 3-3, we're right in the middle of all this stuff. There's not a lot of teams out there that have great records.
Dude, the AFC has a very scraping of the bottom barrel. There's like 5 or 6 AFC teams that are going to have like 3 wins. Like,
yeah,
getting a wild card in the AFC is very, very. There's going to be an 8-9 team that may make it in the AFC.
Look,
like,
right now, there's 1 5-win team in each conference. There's 1 4-win team in each conference. 80% of the rest of the teams have either 2 or 3 wins. So it's like we're right there. We've shown we can play and beat some of the best teams in the NFL. But the Ravens team they've won freaking 3 in a row after we beat them. So look, tanking doesn't guarantee you anything because you have to pretty much lose every single game to guarantee you're going to get the guy you want because you have to be the absolute worst team out there. The worst thing you want to do is you want to try to tank and you ruin all the players. You ruin all their trust. You put bad tape out there for them that's going to affect their money moving forward. You're going to poison that locker room. You pretty much have to get rid of all your staff because no one's going to want to play for a freaking coaching staff that tanked. It's not the answer.
The only person that can make an NFL team tank is the owner. It's the only one.
Get rid of everybody.
Like, that's the only way. Like, think of like the 2020, 2021, the Brian Flores Dolphins, when the owner just getting rid of everyone.
Yeah.
And Flores like still just like willed them to 8 wins somehow. Like that owner was trying to tank. An owner trying to tank, and it still didn't work. Because the coach is like, I don't want this bullshit on my resume. I don't want to be
the coach wants to work.
I don't want to be the coach of a 3-14 team. That's stapled onto my resume for the rest of my life. Coaches don't want, and Antonio Pierce has reportedly a 2-season contract. Like he doesn't have time. He doesn't have a tank in him. And the other part, the Raiders don't have a tanking roster. We just went through the highest paid guys on the team. Max Crosby, you don't want to get rid of him. Like, to tank is you get rid of the very expensive older players and get draft picks to be good in 2 seasons. That's what tanking is, right? We don't have players that fit that description. No one wants to get rid of Max. Davante's, gone. That's a different, separate story. We don't want to get rid of Colton Miller. We just signed Christian Wilkins. We don't want to get rid of Jacoby Myers. Like, our highest paid players are young dudes that you build a new team around. We're not saddled with a bunch of $15 million 33-year-olds. And even if we were, like, tanking is so hard to do in the end. It would literally have to be the exact perfect roster of a bunch of expensive old players and the exact perfect owner who superseded everybody who's worried about their jobs to say, trade that guy, trade that guy, trade that guy, trade that guy, trade that guy. That's what it takes to tank in the NFL. And even when owners try to do it, it doesn't work. Like with the Dolphins and Brian Flores. We don't have an owner that wants to. We don't have the roster to do it. Like
the last time it worked was when the Colts did it because they were genuinely that bad, and they got some of the best players that they had left got hurt, and they just traded away everyone else. And they were legitimately that bad, and they got Andrew Luck. You have to be legitimately that bad. And guys, we're not that bad. And it's almost like you want to have things exactly how you want them, and if you don't, you throw a hissy fit and you act like a little bitch, and you want, oh, let's just tank the season. Get the fuck out of here. I'm so sick of hearing that. If you guys really want, you know what? Go buy a Panthers jersey or a Broncos jersey or a Chargers jersey. Those are the teams that beat us this year. Go buy their jersey. Go root for them. If you're going to be that quick, if 5 games into a season, to tell us to just start losing all our freaking games, the fuck out of here. The fuck out of here with that. I'm so sick of this shit. Could be such goddamn babies. We can turn this around, no problem. But this is not going to help your mental fucking health by saying we have to lose 5 games into a goddamn season. Get your shit together. Get your shit together. What the fuck your name is?
What up,
George Nelson? Get your fucking shit together, okay? This is bullshit, and you know it. Stop it.
I get where it's coming from, though. I do get where it's coming
he's being
from.
a bitch.
I think Jeff Garrison and Jeff Garrison does it too. Jeff Garrison, 70-56. Here we go again with a QB1. When the fuck are we going to get a legitimate top 5 franchise quarterback? I get where the desire to tank is, because you want a first round, the number 1 pick, a top 3 pick, and get a franchise quarterback. It makes sense. I get the knee-jerk emotional reaction of, I want this quarterback, and I think tanking is going to get us there. I understand the emotional knee-jerk reaction. But do the math. Like, really think about what it takes to tank.
That's the problem. They're not thinking.
Really think about it. And I get it. You're pissed off, right? Like, we just got these are all things from our post show when we lost to the Broncos. We got our dicks kicked in by the Broncos, lost our 8-game win streak. We're all pissed and we're all being emotional. I think I treat this more of a safe space, right? Soto has less patience. I want to give you some safe space. But think about what it takes to tank. Like, take a deep breath, give it a couple days, and be like, okay, what does that look like, right? And let's say, for instance, in imagination land, we do tank. It's not going to happen. It doesn't make sense. But for the sake of this argument, right? For the sake of this argument, you want a top 5 franchise quarterback. Let's say in imagination land, we do tank and we get the 3rd overall pick. You know the odds of us landing a top 5 franchise quarterback? It's like less than 10%. There's a 50% chance your quarterback's a bust in the first round of the NFL. 50% chance he is a bust. You know why it's so hard to have a top 5 franchise quarterback? Because there's only 5 fucking of them. There's 5 of them. There's 32 teams in the NFL. Like, the goal is always, let's get the best quarterback in the world. That is the goal. Yes, 100%. That's what we're trying to do. But you don't just give up on everything until you get that. Because it could be decades. It could be decades. The Raiders have had a top 5 franchise quarterback maybe once ever. Maybe once ever. Rich Gannon was a top 5 quarterback, and he was our franchise for 3 years. Like, for 3 years of the Raiders' 80 years of existence, we've had a top 5 franchise quarterback. We still won 3 Super Bowls, and none of them with Rich Gannon. So, like, yes, we want a top 5 franchise quarterback. We're trying to get one actively. But to be like, well, if we don't get him, just give up, is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It's like, if we don't have a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, then let's just tank until we get him. It's like, it may not be in our lifetime. We've had one in my 41 years on earth, a top 5 franchise quarterback. We've had one. We still won 3 Super Bowls, even though the franchise has pretty much only had one top 5 franchise quarterback ever. You can still win. You still find success. This whole, like, let's give up until a Lamar Jackson falls in our lap. That's a hard way to be a fan, man. That is a hard way to be a fan. These guys don't grow on trees.
So look, Josh McDaniels' first season, we didn't try to tank. Okay, we had the 7th pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We had a deal set in place to go up to number 2. There was a deal in place to do it.
Mm.
That's how you get your guy. If you identify the guy that you want to get, that's what you do. That's what teams do. Very rarely are teams just standing put and getting their guy that they want and have it work out long term. More often than not, these who's the top quarterback in the NFL? Who would you say it?
This season, well,
just
Mahomes,
give me a name.
not this season. Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, yeah. Casey had to jump up from 24 to 10 in front of the Saints to get Patrick Mahomes. So they went up and got him. Okay, who's the next guy?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson fell into their laps. No one wanted to touch him in
Number
the first
32.
round. Fell in the lap. That's an anomaly. Who else? Josh Allen?
Josh Allen.
The Bills traded up twice. They traded up from the mid-20s to like 13 and then 13 again to like 6 or 7. Dude, you don't have to tank to get the guy that you want. You just have to be willing to pay the price for the guy that you want. But the thing is, you're doing so much
Joe Burrow
more
wasn't
damage.
a tank. But look, it's less like, I think we're having the wrong argument here.
I think it's the exact right argument.
We keep shooting our shot at quarterback, right? Whether it's trading up, whether we just have a terrible record and we get him, we keep shooting our shot at quarterback. Yes, we are always actively trying to find the next Joe Burrow, the next Lamar Jackson. Yes, that is absolutely correct. But we don't just do nothing until that happens. I think that's where you guys are getting disconnected here.
Yeah.
We don't just like tank and tank and tank and tank and tank.
You lose so much more in your franchise by tanking than you would gain with it. So you're gonna have a quarterback that's really good, a young quarterback, and nobody around him, so he gets fucking annihilated. That's what you want. That's what's going to happen because you're not going to have any good players that want to play for you. The good players that you used to have aren't going to want to play there. You're going to lose all those guys. Is that what you want? No. We had a deal set in place. Fucking McDumb shit said no, killed the deal. And last year, no one wanted to trade for the guys that we wanted. We identified the guys that we wanted, the top 3 guys, and they weren't budging. It happens. You build the rest of your team until you get the guy.
So you don't just give up, right? Like
no, you build the rest of your team,
right? You're like, oh, we didn't get our quarterback. Let's tank. It's like, no.
Look at what the freaking the Niners did. They knew Jimmy G wasn't the guy. They wanted to move on from him. They got Trey Lance, but they build up the rest of the team until they, roundabout found their guy in Purdy. But if they would have wanted to tank to get Trey Lance instead of trading picks to get him, dude, all the work that they did to build the entire team.
I understand the frustration. I understand the desire for a top quarterback.
Guys, it's never going to happen.
I understand the frustration.
It's stupid.
But stop and think what it takes. Right? Just hey. George Nelson, Jeff Garrison, everyone else.
Stop it.
I get the frustration. I feel the frustration. But take a deep breath.
Well, to be fair, Garrison didn't say to tank.
Yeah. Take a nap and then think it through. What is it going to take to get this to tank, to get a quarterback, to get a top 5 quarterback?
I'm so sick of hearing that word.
Just take it in. Take a little spliff, take a little rip, a little bong toke, whatever you need to get your head right. Think through the process. Think through the process. We all want the same things. This team isn't capable of tanking. It's an owner that doesn't want to tank. And yeah, top 5 franchise quarterbacks are really fucking hard to get. The Raiders have had 1 in 80 years. And we still won 3 Super Bowls. And he didn't win 1 of them. You still build the team. You still try to win games. You still build a culture.
Guys, check this out. Let's take a look at the standings here.
This is going to be a record-long show.
I don't give a fuck. These guys are pissing me off. Bunch of bitches talking about tanking and shit. Fuck that. So look, I told you guys, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I told you guys in the beginning of the year, there was some shit going down in Cleveland. I told you guys this. You guys, I don't know if you guys remember that, but I told you, watch Cleveland. They're not going to be good like they were last year. It's not going to happen. And that came out true. Look at what's going on with Cincinnati. They have their quarterback, but they're disgruntled. They have immature guys, immature players wanting this. Jamar Chase wants a freaking deal. Higgins wants to be freaking traded. He wants a deal. This and that. They're being little babies about it. They're not winning games. A quarterback on your team who's a proven winner is not the end-all be-all. It's not the magic fix. You have to have a team around him as well. You can't have just a team that's not working as a unit. You're going to do that. You're going to tear up your team if you decide to tank or if you want to tank. You can't do that. You're going to start all over again, which is one of the big things. You're going to all the good things that we've done. I mean, there haven't been many, but all the good that we've done leading up to this season now, you're going to wash that all away if you tank. Look what's happening with freaking the Cincinnati Bengals right now. What are they, like 1-4 or something like that? It's because the freaking locker room's all fucked up and they got screwed by the freaking refs against the Chiefs. It's idiotic, man. Idiotic. Look at you got one of the best defenses in the league. You got a capable quarterback and good weapons, and the Browns can't buy a win right now. What's going on in Jacksonville? Guy got the highest paid quarterback in the league. Got him weapons. The defense is young and on the upcoming. The guys just barely sneaked out their first win last season. The locker room makes a difference. If AP can keep this locker room pointed forward, don't blink, don't flinch, playing hard, fixing the mistakes that they're making, we can be in every single game. Oh, it's just so irritating.
Frank the Tank. Frank the Tank.
So freaking irritating, dude.
All right, that's it for us. We will do our post-game show, as always, live on Sunday. I got a wedding in Utah this weekend, so I will be landing at like halfway through the first quarter. So I'll be watching intently on the phone and rushing back to catch the rest of the game. But we will do live, as always. And, of course, if by some miracle Devontae does get moved between now and then, we'll go live, and we'll keep you guys abreast of everything, all that goes on. And until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.